I'll tell you what. When I found out Rihanna was calling the game, I think you're right. I think the on camera to start the second half is definitely in jeopardy. That's for sure.
Well, I was going to say, as we talked to Greg Olsen, a friend of the show, former Bear, had a great career with the Panthers, and has really, really become one of the best broadcasters out there in a short period of time. If I would have told you, Waddle, whether it was we were playing kickball at his tournament, or he was getting kicked out of Deerfield High School as he was working out.
Illegal workout,
The illegal workout. And I told you that Greg Olsen one day would be calling a Super Bowl on Fox. Would you have believed it?
Yeah, probably shirt off as the second half kicks off, dancing. No, not that part of it. But calling the game, yes. Yeah.
Congratulations on all the success, Greg. And thanks for joining us again.
I appreciate it. My shirt will be on. I just want to be clear.
Okay. All right.
I wouldn't say I'm in like peak physical like beach shape right now. It's been a long season on the road, but so shirt will be on. That's a guarantee. Cannot guarantee I'll be on camera. That's still up in the air.
I'm not trying to embarrass you, but we spend pretty much every Monday or some Mondays talking about how well of a job you do on a consistent basis. Have you noticed, I know you always were good at this but can you feel yourself getting better? It's almost like when you were playing and you knew you had your A game. Can you feel the growth as a broadcaster as well?
Yeah. And I've been really, pretty upfront and honest, as I've talked about this just since I started doing it, a little over a year ago. And, the reality is every week when I step into the booth, there's something new that happens every week. That's the first time I really ever experienced it. I mean, we have our production meetings and our team does a great job trying to anticipate different things that can happen throughout the course of a broadcast, whether it's communication issues or technical issues or, learning now in and out of the breaks, just different, processes and different, the cadence of every broadcast being so different. Every week I get another one under my belt, I just feel more and more comfortable, right? I feel more and more comfortable that if things go sideways and I lose a monitor or I lose my telestrator, which has happened a couple times, and it doesn't throw me off, like it used to, because it's no longer the first time things are happening. And I think now as these games have gotten better, these games have gotten more interesting, there's so much cool stuff to talk about. And that's the stuff I love diving into, the strategy, the thought process in the huddle, the thought process, communication from the sidelines and understanding the rules and game management. Like, to me, that's the fascinating aspect of the game. It's also the complicated aspect of the game that I think when you can walk people through some of those scenarios and watch them, they can experience it in real time with a little more clarity on exactly what's going on. I think people enjoy it. And that's what we've tried to make our broadcast since we started, Kevin and I. And I think people are, starting to come around and starting to appreciate it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and they should. What was the story that you told? I was trying to tell the guys, and I know you and George Kittle go back a long way, and tight end you and everything like that. What did he do to your pants or something like this when he greeted you in San Francisco?
Yeah, so George, last year it started. George has this routine where he tries to sneak up on me and wrestle me. And I'm in a full suit. He's in a t-shirt and shorts and cleats. So I have my eyes out that I know he's going to try to sneak attack me. Last year we had a Thursday night game in Tennessee, and he about took me back over the kicking bag that's behind the net, which has a million balls, a big heavy canvas bag. He almost took me head over heels back over the bag. So now I'm on alert. Well, I go up face to face, say what's up to him. We obviously were close and good buddies. And I think he's just coming over to say what's up and give me a hug. I had my hands in my overcoat. I had a winter overcoat jacket on with my hands in my pocket. Well, he puts his hands under he's doing a double takedown wrestling move. And he picks me up off the ground and pops all the buttons off the front. My jacket was buttoned. And he popped all the buttons off. I was like, come on, man. So it's just George, and he's the best, man. He's become a good friend. And, yeah, Kevin shared that on air of why I got to get my jacket fixed now, because George Kittle decided to wrestle me in pregame and pop the buttons.
As someone that I think probably appreciates a great game plan and a great, play caller, when you get an opportunity to watch what the 49ers are doing, can you differentiate them from other teams in the league? I guess the easy answer is yes, but how do you differentiate them from others?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it all starts with they have a lot of really good players, right? So let's just take that aspect aside. That's the obvious point to anyone watching. When Brandon Ayuk, 1,000-yard receiver, is probably your fourth option on offense, you're pretty talented. So aside from that, the style in which Shanahan has built this offense is really interesting because, the reality is across the league, every single team is, I like to call it, you're like mining explosives, right? You're trying to create positive situations down in distances, score, field position, where you can either generate explosive plays easier in the pass game, and then obviously there's opportunities in the run game, but you want to generate 15, 20-yard plus plays. The common notion is, all right, well, you got to throw the ball far down the field. And what Shanahan is able to build with his really innovative play style, which creates a ton of space, stretches the entire field horizontally and vertically, it puts so much space between defenders that now when he gets Debo and Christian the ball, he doesn't have to drop back there and hold the ball for 3+ seconds while these deep routes, develop. He can get the ball out of their hand fast, which helps negate the pass rush. And then all this yards run after catch between, Kittle and Debo and McCaffrey. So it's this combination of he has great skill players who are fantastic with the ball, but he's also created this really difficult offense for defenses to align to with all the pre-snap motion and shifts and the various personnel groupings that he can build different formations. So now it's short throw, long run. And that it's very different. They're at the bottom of the league as far as like air yards, balls, the distance the ball travels between it's thrown and actually caught by a receiver. They're at the bottom. They're a bottom 5 team in the league. But as far as generating explosive plays, they're at or near the top. And I think that's a really different way of going about it. But again, it's a combination of a great elite level scheme and very talented ball carriers at the skill position. So he's very smart on how he's built it. And it's a huge challenge for defenses.
Greg Olsen joining us, former Bear. Of course, now with Fox, he's calling the NFC Championship this weekend. Do you get a chance to check in with Robbie still? And are you surprised that his consecutive field goal streak in the postseason is up to 28 straight?
No, I think for any of us who are around Robbie, I mean, granted, it was a long time ago. I don't think any of this surprises us. Just his approach, his consistency. It all starts with his mentality. He's so even keel, doesn't get up and down, doesn't ride the emotions as we saw unfold the last couple of weeks at that kicker position. Brett Maher, one of the best kickers in the league. All of a sudden, you get a miss or two, and it creeps into your psyche. Robbie has done such a good job for what seems like 100 years now, just from his approach and his mentality. It's just perfect for the kicker position. And yeah, I've gotten to see Robbie before every game. We've probably called, that was probably I think it was our 4th 49er game of the year. So I've had a chance before each game to catch up with him and whatnot. We've stayed in touch loosely over the years since we played together, but I can't be happier for Robbie. I mean, I think he's 40 years old now. It seems like when I first got drafted, he was a young buck, I think maybe in his first year or two. And to think that he's still playing all these years later is pretty impressive. And I'm sure there's a lot of Bears fans that wish he was still kicking for them.
Yeah, well, for sure. We miss him, and he comes on with us all the time. What's the odder scene on the field? Is it Jerry Jones giving his kicker a pep talk pregame, or is it Zeke getting run over at center on the last play of the game?
Yeah, there was a few moments in that game that were a little odd. I mean, it started in pregame. You mentioned there was that video that kind of went viral. We were all paying very close attention down on the field to just how Maher was kicking and whatnot. And he had a few misses. It was very windy. Like, in fairness, it was wild. It was really windy and swirling. And I was actually talking to Robbie about it before the game. He's like, "Oh, it's real." He's like, "It's not easy kicking here." So that was a factor. But then to see Jerry go out there, and who knows what he said. But then there was the whole incident where Maher was warming up and Debo Samuel wouldn't get out of the way. So then there was kind of some words exchanged between the special teams crew of Dallas. And then Robbie ended up coming over and trying to kind of defuse it a little bit with Trent Williams. I don't know how that was going to go. So it was pretty interesting to see all that. And then, as you said, that last play of the game, that's one of those plays that it sounds good on paper. You're trying to give yourself a chance at a very low probability, obviously, of going 65 yards plus with no time left for a touchdown. And I don't think they thought that Zeke being run over at center. My gut is that was supposed to be Pollard, and the idea was that they were going to throw it to Turpin, and then he was going to lateral it to the center from that position and get out to where those linemen were on the boundary. But Al Shire, D'Amico Ryan did a nice job. He called timeout, got his guys lined up to that funky formation, and he told him just run the center over, and it kind of put an end to the play pretty quickly.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I did not expect the 6-yard hitch routes to be the end of the game. I don't know how you felt in the booth, but I did. I was like, wow.
It was just trying to get the play started.
Yeah.
Like get it out to Turpin, and then it was going to be a lateral. You could see them building like different layers out on the boundaries where they had the offensive linemen kind of scattered. So the idea was just get the ball out of Dak's hand and then start the pitch, start the lateral process that we see play over time. But obviously it was a lot better in theory than
really
it was
weird.
in practice.
I know you're impartial, Greg, but like, was there part of you that was nervous or I don't know, compassionate for Maher? Or are you just like, hey, sink or swim, buddy?
No, I think of the game for like the Cowboys as much as it just was like, I don't think anyone enjoys watching someone else struggle in front of the world. I mean, watching that Monday night game against Tampa, I think anyone that has any sort of heart, anybody that has any sort of, decency just said, hey, whether you're a fan of the Bucks or the Dallas or not, just to watch a guy just really struggle, especially a guy who's so good. I mean, he's one of the top kickers in the league over the course of the entire season. So I think it just also goes to show just how difficult highly competitive sports is. And I think sometimes you lose track and just think, everybody should make every shot, every free throw. You should never drop a fly ball at shortstop. You should never miss an extra point. And then all of a sudden you see the best in the world have their struggles. And it's very eye-opening. But no, in that game, I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen is if Dak was able to bring them down and tie that game up, were they going to go for two and try to win it? Or are they going to line up? If they lined up for an extra point to try to send that thing to overtime, I think everyone in the world, you almost had to be rooting for the kid, right? Whether you wanted them to win in overtime or not, I struggle watching people struggle. I don't love it. I know what it's like to not have your best that day, and I don't wish that on anybody.
Did they finally figure out Brock Purdy? And going into the NFC title game in Philadelphia, that's the best pass rush in the league, or it looks that way. Did he finally show some signs that, hey, this is a rookie that really hasn't played but 8 or 9 games?
Yeah, I think, the challenge that Brock is facing, I think he's exceeded all expectations clearly. Haven't lost since he's come in, has his team in the championship game. But as every round goes on, you're going to play progressively better and better teams. And last week we said before the game in our open that this Dallas defense was probably the best defense overall San Francisco has played all season, regular season or playoffs. And then we're going to say the exact same thing now against Philly. I mean, this defensive line is every bit as good as Dallas, if not better metrically. They have really good players. They have 2 really good corners. They get Gardner Johnson back at safety. He didn't play the last time we saw them on Christmas Eve. So they've got a really talented group. Their offense is going to, that San Francisco defense is really good. We saw them pretty much stifle Dallas. If they can do the same thing to Philly, I think I'd be surprised. I think that Philly offense is really, really multiple and really hard to stop. So I think San Francisco has to go into this game saying, we're going to have to score 25 or more to win this game. I don't know if they're going to be able to go in and score in the teens and feel like that's going to be enough to beat Philly. So to your point, I think Brock's going to have to carry the load. He's done a lot of it, though, throughout the course of the year. And the advantage he's always going to have is he has an elite play caller and game designer and game plan maker, but then he's also surrounded by really talented guys. So he doesn't have to carry the burden entirely by himself. But there's going to be times in the game where he's going to have to make big third down throws. He's going to have to make tight window red zone throws. Can't settle for field goals. They're going to have to punch it in. And I think it's going to be a fascinating game. I think this is as good a matchup as we could hope for in the NFC.
Greg Olsen joins us right now. He's got the call of the NFC Championship game this weekend. For selfish purposes, Greg, we're watching Jalen Hurts, and we're hoping that Justin Fields can turn into him. Where and coming out of college, Justin Fields was a better prospect. And I know you didn't get a lot of Justin Fields this year, but do you believe that he can take the step that Jalen Hurts took this offseason and become the better all-around quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, whether he becomes better than Jalen or not, I think it's hard to say when you're comparing him against a guy who's arguably in the conversation to be the MVP. I think from a skill set and a talent standpoint, I think the answer is yes. I think the reality is, and I don't think this is going to be mind-blowing to any of you who follow the league so closely or whatnot, the reality is the situation that Jalen walked into, even though they had that tough year where they got rid of Doug Peterson and obviously made the coaching change to bring in Sirianni last year, the talent and the team that he walked into is just vastly different than the team that Justin inherited in Chicago. As far as, you can just look on the offensive side of the ball, weapons-wise. They draft Devontae Smith, first round wide receiver. They have arguably the best offensive line in the league, one of the top, 5 or so tight ends in the league, and Goddard. And then they go ahead and they make a big trade during the draft, and they go out and they acquire A.J. Brown. They want to continue to surround their young quarterback with really good players. He has an offensive-minded head coach and a really, great offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen, who is up for almost every single head coaching job. So when you just look at the system around him, and this isn't to say Jalen's not a fantastic player, he is, but a big part of young quarterbacks developing is, yes, they have to have some innate capabilities and skill sets and demeanor and attitude, whatnot. All that's true. But it's a lot easier when everyone around you is pretty good, and in your offensive line and skill players. They got half dozen offensive Pro Bowl players around him. So it makes a big difference. And, he's obviously could potentially be the MVP of the league. And right now, Justin's just not surrounded by that level of talent, and they have to continue to find a way to surround him and build that team to reflect what he does best. That's what I think Philly's done so well. They run the offense to suit Jalen and his skills and his approach. And it was like what we did in Carolina with Cam. Like we ran an offense that was suited for our quarterback, and he had tremendous success. I think we saw the Bears do that more this year than they did last year, which I thought was great. And now it's just a matter of continuing to surround him with other players to take some of the pressure off.
As a former tight end, you're the perfect person to ask about Cole Kmet. Did you see progress, and how much of an impact do you think he can make on this offense going forward?
I thought he had a really good year. Like you said, I saw a lot of their game, like in highlights and some crossover matchups when we were, maybe the team that they played the previous week, we were getting ready to call. So of course I would always watch the Bears and watch Cole. I've gotten to know him a little bit, and gotten to know, through TEU and some of the stuff coming out of school. But I thought he had a really good year, kind of showed he can be a red zone guy, strong run after catch. He's a big physical guy. I don't know if he's ever going to run by anybody and just be like a blazer and a crazy vertical guy. But I think when you're talking about the way they're going to have to build this offense with Justin and play to his strengths and utilize the quarterback movement stuff and the design runs, the tight end is at the centerpiece of that style of offense. And if you look at every quote unquote dual threat quarterback or run heavy quarterback, you look at Lamar in Baltimore with Mark Andrews, you look at Jalen Hurts right now with Goddard. Cam, when we had Cam and what I was able to do, like the tight end in that style offense, if done right, can be highly effective. So I'm happy for Cole. I thought he had a really good year this year. I think he showed that he's a guy they can continue to build around and continue to develop. And, again, in the right system with the right pieces around him and used to his strengths, I think he's shown he can be a highly effective player.
I think it's such a great point because we always think, and you made a great point about the quarterback, you've got to put him in a system that is tailored to his skill set. The same can be said for other positions. And he had a really good year, Greg, as a red zone, as you said, tight end, an inline tight end. Will he ever be George Kittle? No. He's not going to be one of those guys that affects the middle of the field the way that some of these guys do. But he can still play a huge role in this offense going forward.
Yeah, not every player, and it's such a good point you make. Everyone wants to compare everyone to their colleagues, to their, similar position groups and whatnot, and I get it. But not every tight end has to play like Travis Kelce does. Right. Travis Kelce is the ideal tight end for a lot of reasons because he's really good. But like the style in which the offense he's operating in is the perfect match for the style in which Travis plays. And that's why he's going to go down in history as one of the best guys and one of the most productive guys. It's an unbelievable match. You can say the same thing about George Kittle. His skill set and what he does is ideal for this Kyle Shanahan offense. He's a very aggressive run blocker. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's aggressive and strong. He's great in play action. He can get down the field. He can run after catch, which we talked earlier is such a big component of their scheme. He's a perfect fit. If you flip those two guys, they're still incredible players. They're still Pro Bowl caliber players. Is it the perfect match that they are right now? I don't know. It's hard to say, but So to your point, like, yes, the more you play all of your players, whether it's your quarterback, your tight end, whoever, the idea of coaching is to not say, okay, this is my system, you need to come in. The best coaches say, okay, what do you do really well? Okay, I'm going to highlight that. What do you not do really well? Okay, it's my job as a coach to either make you improve in that area, or through my design, through my game plan, through my scheme, I could take some pressure off and protect you from some of your limitations, all while highlighting what you do best. And not every guy's perfect. Not every guy does everything right, but you got to get the most out of your players. And that's the sign of great coaching. And when you look around the league, that's what the teams that are left, the teams that have guys that are excelling, that's the name of the game. And I think sometimes coaches lose sight of that.
Really good stuff. Awesome. Finally, how do we keep you in the number one booth? I mean, do we have to send like Twitter people after the Fox people that say, hey, leave Olsen in the number one booth and have Brady go in the number 4 booth? Do we have to go after Brady? What do we have to do to keep Greg Olsen in the number one?
After Brady.
Yes. What do we have to do?
I'll tell you, I think it's pretty. I don't know if Brady's going to be in the number 4 booth. I think we listen. We all know the reality. I know what I signed up for this year. My goal, and I said this before the season even started, my goal was to try to do the best job that I could, give people a fun listen, give people maybe a little bit of a different perspective and insight into the game, do the best job that I can. And listen, if Brady ends up retiring and coming and decides and that's how everything unfolds, it sucks. It's not, I'm not, it is. But at the end of the day, I'm a big boy. I know what I signed up for. And, I took a chance on myself and rolled the dice, and we'll see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to calling this game this weekend. Hopefully people enjoy it as much as they have these last couple games, and then obviously culminates in a few weeks in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to enjoy these last couple weeks. They've been busy, but they've been a blast. And then whatever happens in the offseason, I hope Brady signs a 5-year deal with somebody. I'll be the first guy there. I'll give him some cap room to make it work. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess.
Always a team player.
You played in a Super Bowl. Do you believe as a broadcaster you'll be more nervous to broadcast the Super Bowl, or will it feel like just another game?
I would love to sit here and give you that cliche, it's just another game and, every game's the same, but we all know that that's not true, even when people say it. So, yeah, I think before the game, the key is just like when you're a player, is to just control your emotions, control your excitement, control your nerves. Once the game does settle in and you get past, like my goal of every broadcast, like the hardest thing for me is like to get through the first possession of each team. Like once each team has the ball and you kind of do the walkout of the quarterback and here's the starting lineups and, you get through all like the check the box of like easing everyone into the broadcast and okay, all right, it's the end of the first quarter. Everyone's sitting in their couch now, ready to go. Like, let's talk ball. That's when the game becomes easy. That's the fun part for me. So I have to continue to remind myself early in the games, just relax. I know you have a lot to say. You have 3 hours to get it in. You don't have to say it right now. And I think Super Bowl, that's going to be every bit the same, if not even more. Just continue to remind yourself, hey, ease into the game. And once it settles in, it's just a game. But leading up to it, there's nothing like the Super Bowl.
Your brother's in the booth with you as a spotter, right, Greg? Hasn't he been there with you? A, how cool is that? B, how many mistakes has he made this year?
Yeah, it's been really cool. He's a football coach here, coaches at a high school here. He's a teacher and a football coach here in Charlotte, in North Carolina. So he's been doing this with me the last 2 years. He's been with me since I started. And, what's cool for him is, again, he's learning the TV world of football, just like I am. And, we've all come a long way since that first game we sat in the booth last year. We didn't even know what buttons to push. But, for him, the reason that he comes along with me is he knows football. I know when he tells me coverages or he tells me personnel groupings and he tells me they brought the nickel off the slot or he just feeds me different reminders. Like
you trust
played
him.
it his whole life, coached it, been around it. Yeah. Like he knows when he tells me something, like I know I can be confident that what he tells me is real and he speaks the same language. I know what he means. And it's been fun. He's a young kid. He's in his late 20s. For him to come on the road and be around football and be in these meetings and all this, it's a blast. So it's been really cool. It's been a great opportunity for him. And listen, he's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. But we're learning every week, and it's super fun to just enjoy it all together as a crew.
So
Well, you've been great, Greg, and we're really proud of you as a player, as a person off the field, as a father, and now as a broadcaster. You do it all. We appreciate your time today. All the best in the NFC Championship game, and we can't wait to watch you in the Super Bowl. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best, man. I love coming on, and we'll talk soon.
You got it. There's Greg Olsen. This is
He's
where
the
the
best.
pros go, right here. This is where our guys, Mike Tirico last week, Greg Olsen this week, Al Michaels when he comes to town. These are our guys right there. And Greg Olsen is just what a guy he is. And we're proud to call him a friend of the show for many, many years.
Such a great job in the booth.
Yeah. And I hope the Fox people understand how good he's got and that he stays in that number one booth. I know Brady's the name. And maybe they'll put them both together.